everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This is a movie podcast where we force our friends to watch the movies we love and have them destroy our world piece by piece. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen.
I'm Austin.
And today we have the absolute great pleasure of reviewing one of my picks, the classic Demolition Man. I wish you could see the hand gestures I'm making right now. I'm like fist pumping in the air.
I can imagine.
Demolition Man. One of my all-time favorite movies. Apparently not so for my entire family because I assumed they all loved this movie with me. When I told them I was watching it for the podcast, one sister was right on board. She said, excellent choice. The other one said, what is this movie? Have I ever seen it? So
Interesting.
I know. I thought it was a huge part of my childhood. Maybe she's a little bit older than me, so maybe she was busy on her phone or something, but apparently it didn't mean to her what it meant to me. But that'll come later. Demolition Man, I love it.
She was busy on her phone in 1993?
A phone? A rotary phone with a really long cord? I don't know. But I want to hear what you guys thought this movie was about.
Well, Jen had seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen this movie 100 times. This was the movie that we watched a lot as kids, so I'm very familiar with it. So we'll talk, Jackie.
My sister Jen is the one who doesn't remember it. So obviously you guys had some kind of brain transference Freaky Friday thing happen.
That's weird because earlier you thought we were the same person because we were both saying the same stuff, but now clearly we have separated.
It's a weird world out there now. But Austin, okay, you go. Tell me.
I once again had never heard of this movie. So I had no idea what it was about, but I know Jackie. And I know she likes...
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
I know she likes army propaganda / like cop propaganda, only in movies. So I went with that. I didn't know Wesley Snipes was going to be the bad guy, so I wrote Wesley Snipes and Sly Stallone are cops in a dystopian future. Sandra Bullock is there, ... as a love interest. No, that's all I got. I was pretty happy right away that I got the dystopian future part right, because I didn't have anything to base that on.
Yeah, did you get that from, like, seeing a poster or something?
But I'd say even the poster's not very obvious. I honestly don't know. I think I just pulled that out of my ass and got lucky.
Okay.
Yeah, the poster, I think, is a little dystopian just because they're wearing weird outfits. It's like them face to face, but they're wearing all, like, Sylvester Stallone's wearing his future cop outfit, and Wesley Snipes looks like he was in Mad Max. He's got white hair. Either way.
Maybe it subconsciously got through.
Yeah, you inferred something major.
Yeah, but nothing else.
I am horrified because even though we've talked about this before, I didn't really realize that this is going to line up so clearly with my loving military and cop movies. Because in my mind, this isn't a cop movie. It's like a, two guys chasing each other around movie. But yeah, it's a straight up cop movie.
It's a cop movie.
Yeah. So I'm learning about myself and I'm not enjoying it.
Well, you know what, though? You know what you like. You're consistent.
Yeah, I feel like we'll always get a pretty accurate guess for a Jackie movie. We're going to be like, one rogue hero has to save the day. There's a shootout. He's wearing some sort of uniform at the time. And then it all wraps up well.
Definitely a uniform.
Check. Yeah, slow-mo explosion, drawn out, one-on-one combat fights, lots of random shooting automatic weapons at random things. These are all
some quippy one-liners from the hero.
I was just gonna say.
I was gonna say that too, because when I was watching this, I was realizing this was probably one of the introductory movies for me into the action comedy genre, which I love. I'm gonna say smart, even though that's a debatable word, but like quippy, kind of clever words and dialogue in an action movie. That is where I live. So this might have been one of the first intros I had to it. Maybe that's why I love it so much.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. I don't really have much more connection to it that other than I thought I watched it so much with my family, but now it might be me revising history inside my own brain because my older sister has no memory of this. But I have seen it, like Jen, at least 100 times. And now I think it's about time we get right into it because this movie, I think, has a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Great. I'm going to start with the opening scene, which makes me howl with laughter because this is the director's vision of what 1996 Los Angeles looks like. Everything's on fire. Straight up everything. And then we have our introduction to John Spartan, which is Sylvester Stallone's character. And the first thing he does is be super ballsy and jump out of a helicopter. And it begins.
Should we, before we get super into the weeds on this, do you want to give like a little one-line summary of what the movie's about?
Oh, sure.
For anyone who hasn't listened or hasn't seen it?
Right, I assume everyone has seen it, but that's false. So Demolition Man is about a cop, John Spartan, and his nemesis, which is Wesley Snipes, aka Simon Phoenix. Basically, they're chasing each other in 1996 Los Angeles. Simon Phoenix essentially frames John Spartan, the cop, for having killed hostages, and their punishment is they're both cryogenically preserved in a cryo prison, which is obviously a new thing.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
Eventually, Simon Phoenix is up for parole I think it's 30, how many years?
I think they say 36.
36 years later. And he escapes. He kills a bunch of people. The future San Angeles is a very peaceful society and they don't have the means to deal with him. So they unfreeze John Spartan. They run around the city. They blow crap up and they have an ultimate showdown.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of subplots, but we'll get to it. I feel like everyone who heard me give that description is now like, yes, I need to watch this movie. It sounds amazing. Guess what? You're right. It's amazing.
I completely forgot how they got to the future. So when it started and they're in 96, I'm like, okay, it's in the future for some reason. He gets like frozen, I guess. And then the fact that it's that jail is now that you go into cryostasis, I lost it. That's such a hilarious, like, stupid idea to bring them to the future. And I don't know. I thought that was great.
It's a great idea. They get rehabilitated with implanted suggestions during their freeze, and then they're unfrozen and they're normal guys. They obviously put a silver disc against his temple. That's it.
And he learns, like Simon Phoenix learns all how to like hack and like do all these different things. It makes him stronger and faster. Like it's
okay. Hold on.
It's so funny.
You understand that that's because Dr. Cocteau like did it underhandedly and gave him a secret super soldier rehab so he could kill Edgar Friendly.
Yes, I understand. It's the secret.
You do understand the plot of this movie, right?
Okay,
Jen?
It sounded like she thought that that's what the rehab was. I'm like, no.
I understand why he was given extra powers. I still think it's ridiculous, the concept that you can give people extra powers in this cryostasis in the first place.
Okay, well, I have a question for you. Are you a neuroscientist? I don't think so.
Are you? Do you have a new job?
I do, actually. Future neuroscientist cryopreservation specialist is my title.
It. Congratulations, actually. That's a really cool job.
Yeah, it's a big step up.
I, once again, had no idea what to expect coming into the movie, and the first shot over Los Angeles, everything's on fire, he jumps out of the back of the plane, which I think he was yelling Phoenix, but I totally heard it. I totally understood him the first time as yelling freedom! Which
oh my god, that's so funny.
I like more, but I had no idea. And so during that whole scene, there's like the fight out and all this bullshit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna hate this! Like, oh, I'm gonna hate this movie so much."
Yeah.
And then they put him in the what is it?
Cryo.
I don't even know what it is. I misspelled it in my notes, and I was like, I don't think that's right.
So there's a chiropractor, but then there's a cryo prison.
Yeah, I put CYRO, so I'm an idiot. Anyway, and then they put him in the cryo chamber, and I was like, oh no, this is dumber than I thought. And so I was like, the bar was real low at this point, and it definitely picked up. I came around to it, but it was. I don't know why you guys
think this is such a dumb idea. People are cryogenically frozen to this day.
But not like prisoners.
All right, that's fair. Not yet. I feel like this could be the wave of the future. But
also not in 1996.
Very true. They had some crazy ideas about what 1996 would be like. The fashion.
And also like what the future is going to be like. I love when the past predicts the future and it's like, you really thought we would be like this. That's so cute.
I know.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I feel like it's like they didn't quite put it far enough into the future. I don't know. For me, some of it was I mean, I get that like there would still be people alive who remembered the 20th century and all this. So I understand why they put it where they did, but I felt like it was so outrageous. I'm like, I feel like this could have been further in the future.
Agreed. Like, I thought it was in the year 3000, again, like from my memory.
Yeah.
You know, like far in the future. And then rewatching it, I'm like, in 40 years, society changed that much?
Yeah.
Can I speak to that, though? What they say a couple times is that there was a huge world-altering earthquake in 2010. So it's almost like at that point, civilization collapsed and they had to rebuild. And this is what they came up with. So it wasn't a gradual change. It was a certain event that precipitated the change.
Agreed. I was just going to ask, like, did civilization collapse or did Los Angeles collapse? Because it seems a lot of the stuff they talk about is LA specific.
Yeah, that's
true.
Point.
We don't know anything about the rest of the world.
Because, like, that Dr. Cocteau, who's the bad guy, I think he's just, like, the mayor of LA. Like, he's not the president. This isn't how America is anymore. It's kind of just
he's not
LA.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah. President Schwarzenegger?
I'm sorry, but they called that.
I know.
Creepy how well they predicted that aspect of the future.
What I loved about that President Schwarzenegger bit, too, is that that's in, like, the Stallone movie we watched. And then in the Schwarzenegger movie we watched, True Lies, they make a Rambo joke. So we're, like, playing out their little back and forth banter of the 90s.
Oh, that's true. Right? Well, they also make a Rambo joke in this movie, and it made me so mad.
Do they?
Yes. Whenever Phoenix is looking for weapons in the museum, he sees the guy holding a gun or whatever, the model holding a gun, and he says something. He, like, calls the dummy Rambo. I'm like, really?
Oh, that's dumb. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, too much. Too on the nose.
But I do love the idea of them, like, burning each other in movies and a little friendly kind of game of back and forth.
Yeah, that's cute.
I hope they're friends in real life. Schwarzenegger and Stallone. They should be. They're both melting now. I
assume they are. Were they both in some of those Expendables movies?
Probably.
It's funny, we've talked about this before, that I haven't seen the Expendables, and it seems like something I definitely should see.
Yeah, they seem like Jackie the movie.
Right? It's everything I love. Speaking of, just when this movie started, okay, I had my eyes glued to the screen and thinking, oh, this is going to be so great. And pretty much right off the bat, there's slow-mo running and explosions. In the first 5 minutes, it really tells you what this movie is going to be. And I loved it. I was like, yes, the whole building is exploding, literally demolished. There's not even one beam left. And somehow he jumps out of a window and is fine. Immediately, I'm like, yes, okay, great. So the physics don't count. Everything is insane. I love it. It was such a good movie.
So Jackie has the exact opposite reaction that I have to the first scene.
My favorite bit in the first scene was after Wesley Snipes, like, lights the fire all around him, and then Stallone just, like, jumps over the fire. It was beautiful.
And, like, tackles him. And he's like, didn't see that coming.
What kind of jump is that? You just leapt, like, 20 feet into the air over the fire, like, completely fine. Like, beautiful. Yep. Nonsense.
Don't you see his muscles? He's got so many muscles.
Yeah, he can defy all kinds of physics, gravity, logic. Anything we have, he can do better.
Exactly. But I want to hear Austin's reaction to the whole first opening scene from, 1996 to he's arrested and cryopreserved.
I didn't like it. I mean, like I said, I liked it more once we got to the future, but the first scene really, I mean, it's the usual. I was like, okay, like, it's going to be a bunch of explosions. It's going to be a bunch of, I don't know, chase scenes. There's a shootout right at the beginning, which we all know that I despise. So I was not, it didn't set me up for a great time. Like I said, it kind of turned around, but it set me up for a rough go of it.
I love it. I love how we're such different people. Because I immediately am like, let's get started.
No.
And you're like,
I have a strange issue with the fact that, like, why did it never occur to anyone that the hostages may have been killed before the fire?
Yeah, say straight up, big plot hole.
It would have been very easy to test that, no?
Like looking if the corpses had bullet holes.
Yeah.
He even says that he did a thermoscan before he went into the building. So I feel like he has pretty clear evidence that they weren't alive. So I don't really buy into why he's then sentenced to 40 years in cryo prison.
It's a miscarriage of justice right there.
Yeah. But I think we're supposed to believe that it's very like lawless and everything's crazy.
Is 40 years the appropriate sentence for supposedly murdering like 30 hostages?
They called it
Well, it was
manslaughter.
manslaughter.
Okay. I feel like you should probably go for longer. Wouldn't that be like a life sentence kind of deal?
I guess. I'm surprised he got punished at all. Well, it is interesting that Simon Phoenix's parole hearing was 10 years ahead of when John Spartan was supposed to be released. So they must have fudged the numbers on that too to get him out early. But he should have just been killed. Like Simon Phoenix should have been either executed or frozen for, millions and millions of years. Never thought that guy out. He's bad.
So this is going to bring me to a question that maybe Jackie can help me with. Why did Dr. Cocteau choose Simon of all of the cryo prisoners? I feel like there might have been someone a little saner that he could have had commit this one murder for him and not kind of screw everything up. So, like, why Simon Phoenix?
I think that Dr. Cocteau was kind of drinking his own Kool-Aid, and he really thought that he could control everything. So he literally chose the most dangerous person in the prison. He just thought that he never imagined that it would go out of his control because he was programmed to not be able to kill Dr. Cocteau. I think he just thought he was way smarter than he was. Honestly, would have been a way better plan to get anybody else. But basically he had to do the rehabbing, I don't know, some point ahead of time, maybe years ahead of time. So once he had chosen one guy, that was it.
No, agreed. I just feel like there's got to be some sort of like mafia hitman or something who would just be so much easier to do the job that you need them to do.
Much more efficient.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Less sloppy.
Maybe he didn't have a lot of choice. Maybe this was like the Insano wing, because when Phoenix thaws out his buddies, they're all equally as insane as him. So maybe they only froze people for like a year and then they were like, this was a bad idea. Or maybe this was what's left of the population. Maybe a lot of them got unfrozen by accident during the earthquake. Like maybe there was something else, some other reason.
That's an interesting thought. What would have happened to the cryo chamber thingy-majigger prison during an earthquake?
Oh yeah, they probably lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
All the like white collar criminals.
Yeah. Also, to answer my own question, I just remembered that Simon also didn't have the chip implant because he was before that. So I think Cocteau probably needed someone they couldn't track.
Right. And I guess we're assuming that these two, Spartan and Phoenix, were towards the beginning of the program. Because even when he's being frozen, the warden is Smithers. He's the same warden for the entire, 30 years that the program's happening. So I think he mentions that it's just a new program. So
yeah, I think he does.
Maybe theoretically he was the only murderer without a chip.
So then they unfreeze him in the future.
Right, we're in the future now.
Yeah, so we're in the future. Was it, what did we say? 2030?
2032.
32. And then, so this is when it clicked to me that this was before Speed. And I'll read you my note where I said, oh, this is before Speed. Poor Sandy. She's better than this. Once again, I will say, it picked up. But at this point, I was not in a good place.
She actually, once again, she does the Jamie Lee Curtis thing that Jamie Lee Curtis did in True Lies, where she, through her own chemistry with herself and her comedic timing, makes this cardboard box of a human being appear to be a sexually attractive man. So it's all her. I really think she did a great job in this movie.
She was great.
Yeah, I think we continually keep discovering that Sandra Bullock is charming and likable. But yeah, she still is.
In case anyone didn't know, I don't know if this is some underground opinion, but Sandra Bullock, amazing.
Charming as hell. Terrible eyebrows.
The 90s.
It was 1993, yeah.
I know, but I couldn't stop
no, it was 2032. I guess the trends come back.
Oh, no.
So, yes, Simon's unfrozen. He very brutally murders the warden, and that was one of the most upsetting parts of this movie when I was a kid. I wasn't expecting it. He has to get out of the locked room with a retinal scan, so he pops out the warden's eyeball and sticks it on a pen.
I was going to ask if this inspired you to go into your field.
Right? Did it? I don't know. I can't think back that far. Maybe. Have I always had a fascination with eyeballs? No. Was I ever super creeped out by them? No. So I don't know. Maybe this is what it was. And I will say that eyeball on a pen, it's pretty much exactly what an eyeball looks like when you take it out of a human head. So props to the costume department.
In your expertise, Jackie, how did he remove the eyeball from the head without damaging it?
Yeah, he must have done a lot of soft tissue damage around. It would have been really bad.
Yeah.
But they are pretty sturdy. They're pretty sturdy.
It's good to know.
And good to know my eyes are sturdy, and if anyone ever wants to rip it out of my head, it'll be a struggle.
If you want to get real gross about it, though, when he stabs it and puts it on the pen, it would immediately like deflated. So.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
So they were so close.
I buy it. Retinal scan. He gets out, goes on a crime spree. But honestly, Simon Phoenix is a crazy bad dude. Obviously, a lot of murder, death, kills, which is their future term for murder because they're not familiar with it anymore. But the fun part of this movie is watching John Spartan trying to navigate the future world. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I did think this was kind of an interesting premise because I figured it was, like I said, figured it was a dystopian future. So I was like, oh, the dystopia is actually a utopia. So that was kind of cool, I guess. Kind of Big Brothery, but very Big Brothery, but
yeah,
kind of an interesting. I also always enjoy when 90s technology tries to look futuristic. So that was super fun. I loved all the computer stuff.
So good.
So funny.
I love how like they clearly think computers are going to be everywhere, but they don't have any idea of how they're going to end up looking. So there's like, later in Dr. Cocteau's office, there's all these giant like beige slabs with a little screen in the middle. And I'm like, what is this? Who designed this? It's so pointless.
I will say that the cops have like a handheld machine that they speak to. And that looks like a phone to me. It looks pretty close to what an iPhone is now. But I guess it isn't hard to imagine.
Yeah. Around the time when Simon Phoenix gets out, when the cops apprehend him or try to apprehend him, there's like, or when the cops are coming, I forget when. Anyway, all the other cops are watching and they're all like proud of themselves that they've handled this situation. And two of the cops go to give each other a high five, but it's like an air high five and they've got like a weird little. And so my takeaway is, maybe some lessons that we've learned during this pandemic of 2020 have stuck around.
I literally wrote that down where I'm like, high five without touching, coronavirus. Like,
oh, you guys are so funny. That's maybe. I mean,
2032 is only 12 years from now, so.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but that's how they greet each other. They like put their hands near each other and do a little circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No contact, no touchy. Which is really awkward. I wonder how they must have filmed all the scenes with all the police officers and stuff, because they're all kind of crowded together towards a computer. But anytime they like bumped each other or touched, they probably would have had to start over. No contact. Anyway, that was a sidebar. So yeah, Simon Phoenix is out. Starts killing everybody and blowing everything up and totally astonishing all the people who've never seen acts of violence. But I mean, Austin, you made a good point a little earlier about how a significant number of people in this movie are older than 36. So they were alive in the before times. So it's almost like you have to wonder if there's some degree of brainwashing or programming performed on them after the fact. Maybe the chip implant that John has is actually in everyone or something, where it's a little bit more thought control-y than you would expect, because they only have one older man who is Zachary Lamb. He was actually the helicopter pilot in the beginning. I don't know if you guys caught that, but they're buds.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But like, he's the only one who remembers, but I'm like, that other guy who's bald, he has to remember too, right?
Yeah, like the captain is old enough to remember.
Yeah.
Or like their parents. So like Sandra Bullock's character, I think she's 29, so she would have been born in 2003. So like her parents.
Yeah, that's like Austin's age.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I wasn't born in 2003, but I get what you're saying.
You're a baby. Mm-hmm.
No, but so I feel like it's not that removed, and she's obviously like a collector of 80s and early 90s memorabilia.
And 50s.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She would have watched action movies. She said it, right? So she knows what a murder is.
Yeah, so that's what I meant when I said, like, I feel like they needed to put it a little further in the future.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't, honestly, but...
because I guess the only thing that would be tying it to that specific time frame would be the fact that he has a daughter. So, like, maybe they wanted to originally have him connect with her, and so it would have to be close enough in the future that would be a possibility.
Oh, yeah, they don't really do anything with the daughter, do they? They kind of mention it, and she's like, oh, I'll look it up.
Yeah, it sounds like they maybe filmed something about it and then cut it. So it's not in the final cut of the movie.
Weird.
Yeah, that was a weird dead end.
So that's the only thing I can think, is that's the only thing that's maybe tying it to the near future. Because otherwise, I would say, like, set it in the year, like, 3000 or something.
Yeah, because the technology in the buildings and everything, like, I could understand them setting it in near future if they didn't think they could recreate a whole new world with their budget. But they did a really good job of making a new world, I thought. It seemed very futuristic, so it could have been the year 3000.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys think the buildings and cars and things were believable?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that they filmed in, like, I'm throwing in my trivia because I don't have much. They filmed in, like, industrial complexes and stuff because they wanted the future to look really bleak and boring. So, I mean, that checked out for the aesthetic that they were going for. I thought it was pretty effective.
When I used to watch this movie in the 90s, I thought it was very futuristic. Now, of course, it's a little different where I'm like, that's not what things are going to look like. But at the time, I was like, wow, they're so far in the future. This is so amazing. The world is going to be like this.
Right? The 2000s. Who knows?
How am I going to learn how to use the 3 seashells?
That's one of the things people know the most about this movie is the friggin' 3 seashells. Okay, I have guys, no concept.
Give your theories. How do you think the 3 seashells work?
I have no idea. I don't want to get into bathroom specifics. But, like, I'm assuming they're a bidet system. I don't know. Maybe one's a hand dryer. I don't know.
Interesting. Austin?
I read a piece of trivia on this.
Oh boy.
Hold on. I'll pull it up. Give me a second. I didn't include it, but hold on. I'll find it. Okay, here we go. I have it.
Okay.
So IMDb has actually answered this question of how the seashells work.
Oh boy.
According to who?
Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
Has stated in interviews that the idea behind the 3 seashells was that 2 of them were used like chopsticks or to clamp together to pull waste out of the body, and the third was used to scrape what was left over. No explanation was made about how they were to be cleaned or sanitized between uses.
That is Lord disgusting and way worse than anything I was picturing.
We need to cut this. It's so gross. I don't want to know that.
We're not cutting it.
I was like, should I answer
No. I was going to say, I'm like, I hate bathroom stuff. Let's not get too into it. But we got right into it.
I mean, my theory was going to be like, it's a weird type of like 3-card Monty situation where you have to like get them in the right order and flip the right one over. Like it was going to reveal like a bidet. But no, Austin just went right into their chopsticks. And what does that do? What about women?
Why are we still talking about this?
I'm sorry. What about women who also have to use toilet paper for not pulling waste out?
Oh my God.
What do we do?
Please, we're cutting this, right? I can't talk about bathroom stuff. It's too gross.
We're not cutting a word of this, Jackie.
Oh my God. I apologize to our many, many listeners.
They also have questions about the 3 seashells.
You know what, though?
It's
the 3 seashells should just be a mystery, a beautiful mystery that we'll all find out in 2032. Okay,
I mean, I just wanted to spitball ideas. Austin's the one coming in here.
Coming in hot. Maybe it's some kind of like just a laser. Or like, you know how there can be sterilization with, I don't know, gamma waves or something. Just shoot it at your butt and you're fine.
All right, shall we move on?
Moving on.
The first laugh that I had from this movie was when, I forget what Sandra Bullock asked, but the other policeman was like, and a video bite on Unsolved Mysteries. And I was like, that's a reference I can get behind.
Yes. Classic. Yeah, they're talking about how they had a 12-state manhunt and this and that to try and catch him.
Oh, that's right. And a video bite on Unsolved Mysteries.
Took one man, John Spartan. Okay, let's talk about Wesley Snipes a little bit. I really enjoyed his crazy eyes. They're straight up nuts. He looks like a psycho, and I believe that he is a crazy murderer.
Can we talk about his outfit? That's like a look where he's got like the orange tank top and the overalls.
He has multiple great outfits.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning, his like pants and his jacket were mismatched patterns, very bright colors. It was a look right off the top.
He's very stylish.
I think he's wearing checkerboard hammer pants in the opening.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't really have anything else to say about him, though. I mean, he was a good villain.
Not even about his constant one-liners of like, Simon says, die.
I missed that one. Oh, no.
So funny. He says Simon says a lot. Too much,
So
one
good.
might say.
Oh, gosh. Maybe I just started tuning him out after the Rambo reference.
That's fair, because he's trying to do this always laughing kind of villain situation, unhinged, but also has moments of super menacing violence, and he just doesn't do it particularly well. I always have an issue with bad guys who laugh maniacally nonstop, because I'm like, it's very forced. You're running, like you have to breathe. You can't just be laughing unless you want people to hear you laughing. Anyway, so all this to say, it was an overwrought performance. It's Demolition Man. You can't really expect that much. I thought he was good at being like crazy-eyed, but his whole character was pretty annoying.
Yeah. Jen?
Yeah, great.
No, yeah, fine with that. Can we talk about the sex scene using helmets?
Oof. That is the second thing people know about this movie. One is the 3 seashells. The other is the virtual reality sex scene.
Yeah, we're doing the greatest hits.
Oof. Oof, I'm a goof. I don't even know what to say. This was very strange and shocking to me as a child.
Spoiler alert, this is my low point.
I have questions about the purpose.
Okay.
Is it just like for hygiene? Because she says like, oh, exchanging bodily fluids is gross. So I'm like, they invented virtual reality sex and enforced it on the entire population, and no one rebels, I guess, for hygiene purposes. Like, there's better ways to practice safe sex, is all I'm saying.
She makes an oblique reference to how blatant promiscuity was part of civilization's downfall. There was like multiple rounds of highly virulent sexually transmitted diseases that really hurt the population. She's like, after HIV, there was NDT. After NDT, there was NRS. So apparently there was a lot of sexually transmitted diseases
coming for us in the next 12 years.
Okay, Jen, I'm sorry. Let's pretend it's the year 3000.
Okay.
For argument's sake, yes, all these diseases have happened. LA is the last center of civilization on the whole earth. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It was for health, and they did say that everything became illegal. So it kind of makes sense if they didn't rebel for alcohol and cigarettes. Somehow they were mind controlled into giving up sex too.
I guess I just find it a little far-fetched. And I also this time picked up even more far-fetched is that Sandra Bullock, the character who's obsessed with the 20th century and knows how everything worked, and also, again, to him, she like gives that history of like, there were all these diseases and this is when we stopped doing this and started doing this. So she knew that's not how sex worked for him, but she still just expected him to be going with it and not questioning it.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow. Super inconsiderate. That's a really good point. Yeah, and she even said like it's hard to get used to, but she didn't prepare him at all for what was going to happen.
Yeah, she just handed him a helmet, didn't tell him anything.
She actually didn't hand it to him. She put it on his head, and she's like, we're going to have sex now through helmets. And he was like, what? But also, maybe the thing I was thinking just now, maybe it's more dopamine release or something. Maybe it's even more intense than regular sex, and then they became addicted to helmet sex.
Maybe.
Although directly in your brain.
Although by her reaction with the kiss at the end, she seems to think that this version is better than the helmet version.
That's true.
That's also true.
Interesting. Yeah, upsetting. I didn't really think about how that's very close to a violation to just kind of be like, here's your helmet.
Like super violating.
Yeah, we're doing this now. Sorry that it's nothing you've done before or have any context for. Boom. He takes it really well too. Although he says one of the funniest lines, and he's like, the hunka chunka is his name for sex.
Oh, God.
In that Sylvester Stallone voice, like, the hunka chunka. It's amazing. I'm like, yes, this is what I came for. Thank you.
God.
Yep. And also, during this kind of part of the movie, there's the gratuitous boob shots that have to exist in every early 90s action movie.
Oh, yeah. It's completely pointless.
It's like a wrong number call, is what you're referring to? On
the wrong number video call.
And she's completely topless for some reason, as we all are in the future.
Right.
12 years.
Especially in a sexually repressed helmet future where no one sees boobs.
That's a good point. What's she doing? She's breaking the law.
Maybe she's like one of the underground rebels who we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah, we skipped over a bunch there, including the restaurant situation.
Oh, yes, Dr. Cocteau, in what's supposed to have happened is that John Spartan saves him from getting shot by Simon Phoenix. And when actually Simon Phoenix is being controlled by Dr. Cocteau. But in thanks for this act, he invites him to dinner at Taco Bell. Oh God, so good.
So, fun story. Like I said, I watched this movie all the time growing up. One of my old coworkers and I used to quote it all the time. And we'd always be like, all restaurants are Taco Bells now. And then I was watching this the other day, and it was Pizza Hut. Like, they were like, let's go to Pizza Hut. And he's like, what do you mean Pizza Hut? And she's like, oh, all restaurants are Pizza Hut now. And I was like, did I have a stroke? Did I misremember this movie that much? And I looked it up, and Austin looked this up too, because we talked about it earlier. And there's actually two versions. So the US version is Taco Bell, and then the European version is Pizza Hut. So the version I just watched was the European version, but I did not realize that when I went into it. And I literally thought I was going crazy, because I'm like, the sign says Pizza Hut. They're talking. There's scenes of them talking about pizza. How could I have misremembered this as Taco Bell?
That's amazing.
I love it.
So I also, like you said, I also watched that version. And it was throwing me for a loop because I obviously didn't know the Taco Bell stuff. But I could tell that their mouths weren't lining up with what was coming out of them. So I was like, did they just ADR everything? Like, what is happening? I thought that I was trying to like read their lips without the sound on, and I didn't make out Taco Bell. It sounded more like restaurant, like just a general like saying the restaurant. So I don't know what was going on. But the ADR was bothering me. So that was really funny. And then, yeah, when I saw that there's two different versions of it, it's like, okay, everything makes sense now.
Is Taco Bell just an American thing?
Well, that's, I guess, why they changed it, is that they didn't know if it had enough, like, international appeal, or, like, if it was that well known outside of North America.
I don't think I've ever seen a Taco Bell in Europe, to be honest. So I don't think it is really there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, and the Pizza Hut thing didn't jump out at me as being odd. I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I have an international Pizza Hut story for you.
Oh boy.
When I was in Hong Kong, was there for about a month, and by about the third week, I was like, I really need a slice of pizza. Like, I just need some, like, gross food that I can get at home.
And you love pizza.
I do love pizza. So my friend was like, let's go to a Pizza Hut. So, like, okay. So we went to Pizza Hut. And it was the fanciest fucking Pizza Hut. It was one of the fancier restaurants I've been to, period. There was escargot on the menu. It was fancy. I was like, I just want a slice of greasy pizza. So I couldn't even get that. But anyway, so yeah, the fancy Pizza Hut didn't, it fit right in.
So you went to the fancy Pizza Hut from this movie?
I think so, yes.
Nice.
Amazing. Yeah. I would pay to do that. If this restaurant existed, with the lounge singer singing commercials and everyone wearing flowing robes, eating styrofoam peanuts, I'd 100% be there.
That's another weird thing about the timeline of this movie, is that all they listen to are like jingles and TV themes. But what's Sandra Bullock's character again? Huxley?
Lenina Huxley.
Lenina Huxley. But she's this like collector of all things 20th century. She's still listening to like jingles and shit. Like, you think she'd be listening to some like 80s music.
Yeah, aren't there like records in a jukebox in her house?
Yep.
Yeah, but maybe it's just kind of like, we don't listen to our parents' music necessarily all the time. We listen to current pop music on the radio.
I guess it just kind of jumped out because that's like such a strong character trait for her.
Yeah, but then she's also not listening to current pop music. She's listening to her parents' jingles.
Yeah, because her oldies, right?
Yeah, and it was like the Oscar Mayer Wiener song and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really weird, actually, because I'm like, they're not really oldies because they were never considered popular music at the time. Anyway, that's a good point. They are oldies. I don't know. Yeah. That one's a very weird trip.
Also, like, for within the span of the 36 years that he's been frozen, all music ceases to exist. That's kind of big.
I feel like that goes in with the thought control. And they probably made most music illegal because it riled up the populace.
I just really want to know what was happening outside of San Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. Is this just LA? Is everyone else fine?
It's funny that I've never thought about it. I'm just like, this is what it is. I accept it. show me an explosion in slow motion.
Yeah,
and they
like,
deliver.
Get me to the good stuff.
Right?
This is all set dressing for the explosions.
It is, but I love it. I love the fish out of water, future funny jokes, bits, like every single one of them. I have so many quotes from this movie because every one of them is gold. But my favorite thing about how the future is represented is that whenever there's a fight, there's the craziest 80s synth music that plays. It's
I have
so fun. I love it. Like they have these huge fights where they're in the future with like glass and industrial this and advanced technology that, but the music to go with their fight is so clearly a hairband. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. The music in the museum shootout between Phoenix and, oh my god, what's his name?
John
Why
Spartan.
can't I remember names? Spartan. John Spartan. The music in that museum shootout scene was so bad. It sounded like horrible hold music. I don't know what was going on.
That one I don't remember so specifically. Was it the museum background music?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it just sounded like hold music on a phone. And then I wrote, oh my god, I hate these scenes. So
So you hated whenever they had like hand-to-hand combat?
Well, hand-to-hand combat I didn't love, but I was better with. I hate when it's just like gun shootouts. It's boring. It's so boring and loud and boring.
What kind of violence do you like in movies?
I mean, I don't like a whole lot, but I'd rather hand-to-hand combat.
Okay, fair.
Okay.
I think I'm the same. I like when there's like, like martial arts, like they actually know how to fight and it looks realistic and they go for it.
Yeah.
Can I tell you one thing about the museum scene that I forgot, but when it happened, I actually laughed out loud. So they fall through the roof into a excavated scene from the late 20th century.
Yes.
And then they're fighting, and Sylvester Stallone says, "You're on TV," and then he hits him with a television. Did you guys see that part? I'm sorry, it made me laugh so hard. He swings it by his cord, and this giant box TV hits the guy. It's so good.
So, in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels, Freddy kills the girl by smashing her into the TV and says, "Welcome to primetime, bitch." So I feel like you'll appreciate that one.
Oh,
Ooh,
that's a good one. I like that line.
that is very interesting.
Why were the guns in the museum loaded?
I think he found the bullets too.
They didn't like deactivate the guns when they went into the museum.
Yeah,
They didn't take the firing pin out. They left it in.
They just like picked up a gun off the street and were like, put this in the display.
Interesting
Nothing
point.
could ever go wrong with this.
I prefer to just not answer that. Moving on.
I'm just gonna poke little holes all over the place, apparently.
I mean,
no, I think that's absolutely not how anything would work in real life, but this is Demolition Man and not real life, so I'm totally fine with all the guns in the museum being fully loaded, ready to go.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my problem with action movies. It's also my gift, is that I accept everything. I'm just like, yes, you don't have to justify anything to me. If you show me something, you say, that's an apple. I'm like, cool, apple. Good.
Which makes no sense to me, because with every other movie, you're like, I need every little bit of logic.
For our movies, you'll spend hours picking apart every little thing, but your movies, you're like, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Honestly, the only thing I remember from Nightmare on Elm Street is that she gets out of the bath and immediately puts a house coat on without toweling off first. And I'm just like, that does not how people do things. But this movie, I'm like, obviously they have loaded guns everywhere in the museum. What's your problem? Great stuff. Also,
the fact that their museum has like a hall of violence when they're supposed to be this super peaceful society where everything's illegal. Would you think they'd have it all on display like that? Or would it be more like, we're going to tell you about how awful things were and not just have a ton of guns lying around for you to look at and think that maybe they look cool?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think I could see it both ways. Like, I think it's kind of cool that they did have it, but it also seems a little out of place in this like utopian society.
Yeah, now that you've said that, I believe they could have made these exhibits with their advanced technology, virtual reality, hologram business. They didn't really need actual guns.
Or I'm surprised they showed it at all. Like, they could have just been like, oh, that was the before times. We don't talk about that.
Or tried to make it look so much worse than it was. Be like, here's all the blood-stained clothes and nothing else,
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Guess what? Dr. Cocteau thought he was really smart. Apparently not.
Yeah, I've got some questions for that museum curator.
Dear sir.
We haven't really talked about the whole, I guess, subplot of the people living underground, people who refuse to
They're called the
live.
Scraps.
I forgot what they were called. I can't remember. Apparently, I watched this movie like 4 hours ago. I've retained nothing.
That is a good sign.
But yeah, so we haven't really mentioned that. But they're like living underground. They refuse, or they don't want to, I guess, be controlled, and they're led by Dennis Leary. And see, I remembered that. So that's something.
Did anyone notice that one of his henchmen, Scraps,
Is
is
Jack Black?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can only see his face for like a couple seconds when they're having a confrontation, but he has that signature Jack Black smile.
I did notice. I'm sorry, I stole your thunder there.
That's okay. My thunder is this entire movie. I love it. Sorry, but yeah, so there's the Scraps. And that's the whole point, is that Dr. Cocteau brainwashed Simon Phoenix to kill the leader of the underground movement, Dennis Leary. What are you guys' thoughts on Dennis Leary?
So when he got to his little speech rant about how he didn't want to be controlled and he wanted the freedom to like eat meat, I was like, okay, this is starting to feel a little like right wing. I don't know if this is just how politicized things are right now, but it just reminded me of like the anti-maskers who were like, I deserve my freedom. And that's how he came across to me. And I was like, what is this movie saying politically? Because there's also like, we can get into this later, but I also feel like there's a strong undercurrent of police violence is okay. And I was like, huh.
Interesting.
This is coming at me in a couple different angles that I'm not liking in 2020 eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some parts that don't, I don't even want to say don't hold up, but that just are very different in 2020 than they are.
Exactly.
They
like,
were in 1993.
I don't think in 93 when they were making it, they were being like, let's make a movie about how police violence is good. Also, I will say that 92 was the Rodney King riots in LA, and to immediately release a movie about how LA is a wasteland full of crime just felt a little off as well.
And apparently, I did read that, I don't know if it was the director, or it must have been the director, for that very first shot of LA on fire, he was basing it off of the LA riots. So that was definitely on their minds.
Yeah, and then they made a movie about how, like, you need to have police violence because peace won't work. I don't know.
Do you think it was just a kind of coincidence that the hero is white and the villain is black?
That did jump out to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to assign anything to the filmmakers because I haven't, like, read anything of what they were trying to accomplish with this. But again, it's just stuff you didn't pick up on at the time, and, like, you didn't know what was going on in the world. And then now that you're older and you are more aware of these things and you watch it, like, those are kind of just things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, where I was like, I don't know if I'm on board with what this movie is saying.
I have kind of like, I believe you. I didn't put it into the context of 2020 at all. I was just thinking that, yeah, I am in favor of the greater good, but I do want freedom of choice and what I eat and the entertainment I consume and things like that. I didn't immediately put it into the anti-masker situation because he's not saying I want for something that's a risk to public health, right? He's just saying I want individual choice for me and I'll bear the consequences myself.
Agreed, but like I said, I think this is just because that's the argument those people are currently making. That's why it rang to me as that. Like, I don't think necessarily what he's saying is something that's bad for the world, but it just felt that same kind of mindset of, like, you know, especially in the States with, like, Republicans, they're big on, like, the government can't tell me what to do. I make my own choices.
Yeah, it'd be great if they would go live in the sewers.
Yeah, agreed. You are the Scraps.
I'm kind of okay with that happening. But yeah, I didn't think about the undercurrent of pro-police violence in this movie. It kind of seemed like it was incidental, like it just had to happen that way. It wasn't.
Yeah, well, and it was treated as a joke that the police didn't have to use violence and didn't have guns and didn't have all these, you know.
That's scary for techniques. Like the defund the police idea. Then if the defund the police idea was happening at the same time of this film, it would be clearly propaganda. You're right, for sure. Like, look what happens when the police don't have the training and guns. They're useless.
Yeah, and I think there was even a line where someone said to Stallone, like, what you do is barbaric, and he was like, but it gets results. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Same with you, Jen. Like, I didn't delve into if this movie is even trying to make any kind of political statement, but I definitely did read some of that for sure. I mean, it's kind of hard not to, I guess, but it didn't jump out at me as strongly as some of the things in like True Lies jumped out at me, because I think it's handled a little bit better in this movie. But yeah, it was, yeah, for sure. I don't know. I'm not saying anything useful right now. I'm gonna cut that.
It's interesting again because, like I said about action movies, I just accept what they tell me, so I never really think about how any deeper level. I'm just like, yep, police, yep, scraps, future. Maybe it's the fact that it's in the future. It's so purely fictional that I don't try and compare it to life today because it's 2032. That's future Jackie's problem if she makes it that long.
It's only 12 years. Again, we're going to make it to 2032.
I live hard. But yeah, I guess I just never thought about it, really. That's it. I don't really go deep on action movies. I appreciate that you brought that to my attention, though, because it's an interesting thing to think about. But you guys, I can't handle it if you take another one of my movies and destroy it. Because I can't watch True Lies anymore.
It's genuinely something that stuck out to me a few times. Like, as I was taking notes, I was like, is this movie pro-police violence? Like, do we love cops killing and assaulting people? Like, even the part where Sandra Bullock's watching like a compilation of him doing it and being like, yeah, look how awesome he was back then, beating up these suspects he's arresting. And I know we're watching it in action movie terms, like it's cut like an action movie, so it's supposed to be a joke, but then it is really just police footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's just because it's so different from her every day.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to ascribe this to the filmmakers and say that they were trying to give us some propaganda, but it kind of feels
nice
like
word.
it. Sorry, I know I saw that online a little while ago and I've been obsessed with it. Propaganda.
This movie also features a high-speed chase with Sandra Bullock driving an unfamiliar vehicle at high speeds. Fun times.
Yeah.
Oh, that was kind of her thing.
Yeah. And also, how are we supposed to believe that car would still work?
Yeah, I did think of that after the fact.
Yeah, that it had gas.
Yeah, doesn't gas go bad after like 2 years?
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I didn't actually think about that, but of course she's driving an unfamiliar car at high speeds. Pigeonholed Sandy, never did anything else.
Okay, just spitballing here. Can we get Sandra Bullock into the Fast and Furious movies where she's also driving an unfamiliar car at high speeds?
You know what? This would make me watch the Fast and Furious movies.
In the next Hobbs and Shaw, Jackie. In the next Hobbs and Shaw, Sandra Bullock.
I'm so in. Hold on, I'm gonna go make a meeting with The Rock, and we're gonna have an in-depth discussion. Beep boop beep. I got an idea for you.
Hobbs and Shaw and Bullock.
Right?
She would just be herself. She wouldn't be a character. She would be Sandra Bullock.
I love it. She like accidentally stumbles onto the set one day, and then they're all captured by terrorists or something.
What would she be driving?
Snowplow.
Transport truck.
Ooh.
Boat.
These are good options.
Yes.
She's in cruise control, though. That's a big boat. Okay, anyway, you guys, back to this movie. We don't have too much more of this movie to go. I love the scene when he crashes the car, and it fills with secure foam, which is the future's answer to an airbag.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so smart when I was a kid. I was like, why don't cars have this? This is genius. And I still think that. Why don't cars have this? Can someone get a car manufacturer on the phone?
I was going to say, let's bring in our resident car expert. I have no one.
I think it's you, Austin. You own a car.
I own a car. I know nothing about cars.
Would it ruin the car to fill with this foam?
It's a good question.
It's totaled anyway, right?
But what if it's not totaled? What if you're in like a regular accident?
I mean, you could probably clean it up, right? Like, I mean, it would be a big old job, but...
Yeah, is your insurance going to cover that too?
Well, what does it do if your airbag goes out? Like, even if it doesn't completely total the car. Although, I guess if your airbag's going, it's probably totaling the car.
I don't know because I don't drive, but I genuinely assumed you could just push the airbag back in.
Oh my gosh.
I know
Sorry,
enough
Jen,
to know
that's
that's
not
not how that works.
I'm hearing laughter, so I think this might be wrong.
I think you have to like buy a new steering wheel or glove compartment top part.
Interesting.
Once it's out, it's out for good.
You know, I like how we clearly do not understand anything about transportation, vehicles, or infrastructure, but we keep plowing on and pretend that we do.
Right? We're willing to
figure it out.
state our opinions extremely loudly and assertively based on zero knowledge.
I mean, what are we experts on, you know? Not a lot, but we're trying.
I thought I
That's
was an
true.
expert on action movies until Jen found all these layers. But basically, we're at the end of the movie now. If Simon Phoenix kills Dr. Cocteau, he starts going to take over the whole place with his cadre of unfrozen compatriots. That was some great alliteration, by the way. Thank you, me. And then they're trying to unfreeze every other criminal in the super homicidal wing, which is 80 frozen people. Yep.
I just have to bring up something that I believe is a plot inaccuracy here. As
Please.
Simon is going through the list of people to unthaw, he's like, oh man, Jeffrey Dahmer, I love that guy. Why would Jeffrey Dahmer be cryo-frozen in Los Angeles?
Interesting.
Anyone?
Very. Well, first of all, you're going to have to help me because I don't have the particulars, but where was Jeffrey Dahmer imprisoned?
Milwaukee?
Yeah, he was in the Midwest for sure.
I think he lived in Milwaukee, so I'm assuming somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah.
He also died in prison in like 2003 or something. I don't remember when he died.
Well, they wouldn't have known that in 93.
No, that's not the movie's fault.
Could you imagine if they'd predicted that?
I mean, they predicted halfway to Arnold Schwarzenegger, so...
True.
Right. I'm going to say this. In the past, Jeffrey Dahmer escaped and went on another crazy killing spree, and then he was put in prison in Los Angeles.
Ooh. In terms of another weird prediction, there's also a Scott Peterson on that list.
Oh.
Or on one of the lists of criminals.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's creepy. Sorry, Jen, were you going to say something?
No, I was just thinking about that. And then I started thinking about what if they did unfreeze Dahmer and he was like a cameo character. Obviously not really Jeffrey Dahmer, but like some actor playing Jeffrey Dahmer in the finale of this movie.
I like how you had to clarify that they weren't unfreezing the real Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be Jeffrey Dahmer playing himself.
Or in real life, he's been frozen this whole time.
You never know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
We diverged there.
I love diverging, you guys. I just have to throw you off the track.
He's trying to unfreeze a bunch of guys. There's a major showdown between Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes in the cryo prison. And it ends with the classic. Wesley Snipes is frozen solid through the miracle of one little marble of blue light. Turns everything frozen. Sure. Yep. Moving past it.
Excellent VFX.
Sylvester Stallone happens to be grabbing onto a piece of equipment that's swinging around the room repeatedly. And he says, heads up. And he kicks his frozen head off of his body and it shatters into a million pieces.
Which, amazing. Of course he does, because earlier in the film, Wesley Snipes had said something about, like, I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. And
he 100% says that in the opening.
Yeah, and Sylvester Stallone was like, I'll keep that in mind. And I was like, well, someone's getting decapitated later.
I wish they had made it even more obvious, because I don't think I noticed that until this viewing.
I think they made it pretty obvious.
He said heads up. So I was like, that's the reference. I don't need to think about it anymore. Heads up, boom, joke, done. Head, floor, done.
This movie's it's got so many layers. It's got foreshadowing. It's crazy.
I am not used to this many layers, okay? I need one layer. That is it. But now we're at the end. He blows up the cryo prison, so he's ended the tyranny of cryo prison technology. Dr. Cocteau's dead, so they don't have a leader anymore. And he brings the brainwashed populace together with the scraps and says, you guys figure it out. Makes out with Lenina Huxley.
He says there's very fine people on both sides, and then they both have to work together.
Oh no.
Oh no! I just got what you're saying. Ooh, very fine people. Ooh. Okay. Please tell me there's no Nazis in this movie, right? I'm not imagining that there's no Nazis, am I?
I don't remember any Nazis, but...
God, that's dark.
Austin, was there any Nazis?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
I thought that the populace represented in future San Angeles was reasonably ethnically diverse. However, there was a distinct lack of African American people. Like, there's a lot of Asian represented, which is interesting. And there was a couple East Asian people that I could see just by glancing at background characters. But I only remember the main villain and the one other character who's John's friend, Zachary Lamb. Those were the two African American people I even saw.
There was also a black cop that got killed by Wesley Snipes, I think, when he makes him stand in the front of the graffiti wall.
Oh, yeah. And then there was another one, too, when he, like, put his dukes up.
Okay,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
So, yeah,
they
that's
were all
good.
made to look like idiots, but yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 that die immediately. Got it.
Right, cool. Alrighty. Okay, very fine people on both sides was a very upsetting thing that you have said.
I'm so sorry.
But that is essentially what he says. He's like, you guys got to figure it out. I'm John Spartan. I can't obviously lead you because I am dumb as a bag of bricks, but you guys figure it out, and he walks. It's a very cool move, the way he walks away, I think. And then he spins Sandra Bullock around and kisses her, and when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's how it's supposed to be done.
Oh, really? Like, I was watching it and I was like, that would hurt. That looks painful.
No, I was like, yes, that's it. That's the way it should be. Guess who's been disappointed for her entire life? But I thought that was a very romantic kiss when I was a kid. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
And again, Sandra Bullock manages to make Sylvester Stallone seem appealing. And I really think it's all her, because he's not. When he stands there, I'm just like, you're so awful.
I was so glad I was able to find subtitles. Because I was like, I'm going to need subtitles for Sylvester Stallone. And
yeah.
I did, and they helped.
Right? Some of his jokes don't land unless you have the subtitles on.
And then Sting sings us out.
The worst theme song of all time. A very not catchy song called Demolition Man. Oh, it's so good. I had to turn it off right away. I was like, oh, this is a bad song. Click. I respect the effort, not the execution.
Oh, we didn't talk about, I don't know his name. Jen, help me out. The guy from Beetlejuice.
Oh, Otho. Sorry, I don't remember the actor's name, but I totally wrote down that Otho was in this.
Yeah, I was like, is that the guy from Beetlejuice? And
what
it was.
Talking about?
Cocteau's like assistant trader guy who kept trying to
Associate Bob.
anyone.
Associate Bob. Yep, Associate Bob.
And I also kind of felt like in the dinner scene when they're at Taco Bell / Pizza Hut, it was basically Beetlejuice. Did you catch this? Their like outfits were the same. His hair's he's basically the same character.
Yeah, he's definitely the same character. This is future Otho.
Yeah.
Whenever we make Jackie watch Beetlejuice, she'll understand.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm like, I have nothing to contribute to this part of the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like an exciting thing to talk about. I just was excited to recognize him. And he, like, even that, does he have that hair? I'll figure that out. It's okay. We'll watch it soon. Ignore me.
Please don't make me watch it.
We're going to make you watch it every day.
Oh, it's so good. Okay.
Is there anything we didn't cover that you guys wanted to talk about Demolition Man?
That's pretty much it. I did write down a bunch of quotes, but if Jackie wants to take the lead on her quotes.
Quotes, you guys. Great. I will say a couple. I won't say them all. I'll leave some for you guys.
Why don't you say the ones that you have, and then we'll just add in if we wrote down anything else.
Okay. My favorite quote in this whole movie is from a clip that Lenina Huxley is watching of John Spartan's previous police brutality exploits. But he's carrying a little girl, and the reporter goes, how do you justify destroying a $7 million mini mall to rescue a girl whose ransom was only $25,000? And the little girl goes, fuck you, lady.
Yep.
Guys, when I was a little girl, I was like, oh my God, I could say the F word. I loved it. I love it still. She has the best delivery of anybody in this movie. It's amazing. Quotes. Here we go. Very casually. Rob Schneider says, we're police officers. We're not trained to handle this level of violence.
Yeah.
Which is, again, let me see. What else do I got? One time, I can't remember what they were doing. They were like, oh yeah, so he ran into his old friend, Zachary Lamb, and they were kind of berating each other. And Lenina Huxley goes, this is how insecure heterosexual men bond. I was like, damn, girl, call him out on that.
Well, she was even more snotty about it because she was like, if you read my study, you would know.
I also have one of Sylvester Stallone's terrific one-liners. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. Both seconds of it.
That was a good one.
Come on, you guys.
No, I wrote that one down too. I wrote that one down.
Okay, thank you. And of course he goes, when Sylvester Stallone's talking about sex, he says, boning, the wild mambo, the hunka chunka. Amazing.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of their conversation during the opening scene and throwing back to it later, he says, is it cold in here? Is it just me? And in the beginning, it's because he sets the place on fire, and then at the end, it's because they're in a cryo prison. So temperature levels as well.
Yep.
That's it. Quotes, quotes, quotes. Lay them on me.
So the first quote I wrote down was in the opening scene when the boss cop, I guess, is like, I'm tired of this Demolition Man shit. And I just love that, how they were leaning so heavily on the Demolition Man already. It was like 2 minutes into the movie, and he's like, the name of the movie, Demolition Man. What else did I write down? Simon Says Die, obviously. Classic. Right.
Classic.
And then later, Wesley Snipes, when he's trying to get the computer to work, and he's like, come on, Hal. And I just enjoyed that. That was a good little 2001 A Space Odyssey reference.
Yeah, he had so many references in this movie.
Yeah, he was referencing everything. Oh, and then at the end, when they're in their, like, final fight or whatever, Wesley Snipes just goes, I hate cops. And I don't know why, but I thought that was hilarious.
That's amazing.
Nice. Austin, you got anything to add for our quotes?
You got most of the ones I wrote. I also really enjoyed when they told Sylvester Stallone to enhance your calm. I liked that. Rather than calm down. It's enhance your calm. That's all.
There's also a running joke of Sandra Bullock mixing up her idioms and maxims and saying them all wrong. Yes. I enjoyed that. I didn't write any of them down, though.
I remember one was like, take this job and shovel it.
Yeah. Lick his ass.
Oh, yeah. Lick his ass.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Quotes, quotes, quotes is done.
So what was everyone's high point and low point?
Right.
So I guess my high points is, like Jackie said earlier, like the fish out of water stuff. That's kind of where a lot of the comedy is, and I really enjoy that. My low points, I guess it's basically what I was mentioning earlier about seeing the film differently in 2020. And then another aspect of that, which I never realized or really picked up on as a kid, is that Sandra Bullock is just out of commission for the whole end finale because he knocks her out and then tells her it was for her own good. And I think that kind of sucks. Would have been nice if maybe the only female character had something to do. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because she'd proven herself fairly capable, but I think it was more, I took it as like, it was a more like, you don't want to have to deal with this kind of thing, right? Like for her like mental sanity.
Right, but
that's how I interpret it. Right?
He still knocked her unconscious. Like he could have just been like,
it.
Why don't you go wait over there?
No, I know. Yeah, that was rough.
I guess I kind of, again, I buy into the movie 100%, and I just don't think there would have been any other way to sideline her. She's so enthusiastic about it, except for maybe tying her up or otherwise restraining her, which, I mean, maybe that would be better than knocking her out, but this is a non-violent knockout with a baton that shoots a laser.
But they could have even had like a task for her to do that wasn't, shooting or killing, because that's what she was struggling with. They could have been like, oh no, he's gonna open all the cryo things. You have to go to the computer and type furiously to make it stop. Just have her do something.
Very true.
She follows orders very well.
Yeah.
She's useful.
And then she could be her character from Hackers, too.
Yes, the Sandra Bullock shared universe.
I love it. I love it so much.
You're right. That's crappy. And you're right. She was slowly proving herself. She fought a guy and did like a bunch of Jackie Chan moves, so she wasn't helpless. She probably could have been an asset for sure.
My high point is all of Sandra Bullock. She's just so delightful. I've said I'm a broken record at this point. I think it just made me really happy because at the beginning I really wasn't thinking I was going to enjoy this at all. So when Sandra Bullock was just like charming and kind of delightful, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. So that's my high point. Just her being charming AF. My low point, which is something, well, it was originally going to be the virtual sex headpieces, but other thing that I thought of that we did not discuss was when he goes back to his apartment or wherever they had set him up after they have virtual headpiece sex, he has a ball of wool and he's going to start knitting. And first of all, he knits a sweater overnight. Not good. Not cool. That would not happen. But also, he picks up the ball of wool and then starts wrapping it around his elbow and his hand, which is what you do when you have a skein. I can't pronounce things. It's what you do when you have wool and you want to turn it into a ball because you don't want to have knots and tangles in the yarn. So his yarn is ready to go. It's already in a ball. Him doing that, wrapping around his arm, is just going to he's making it worse for himself. He's making it tangly. Come on. That's my low point. You're welcome.
Honestly, that's a good one.
God.
I've noticed that too, because he's doing it in a really shoddy way. And like some of the loops are coming off of his elbows. So it's just a big old mess. I'm like, what are you doing?
But you want it to be in the ball. Like if you buy yarn or whatever, it sometimes will come like that, like wrapped kind of in a long loop. And then the whole point is that you wrap it into a ball to actually start knitting so that you don't have knots.
I will say though that I accept fully that he made that sweater overnight because I figure he has like super fast knitting skills.
It also bothered me that
superhuman.
he kept calling himself a seamstress. I'm like, that's not your knitter. I mean, maybe he has seamstress skills as well, but that's not what knitting is.
He does mention that his uniform is all ripped up and he said he could repair it. All he needs is a needle and a thread. So I think he also has seamstressy rehab in his brain.
I'll allow that. But the rolling or the unraveling of the ball of wool is my low point for this movie.
If you had told me there was going to be a knitting rant in this episode, I never would have guessed.
I'm with Austin. Very inappropriate, very misleading, uncool. But I do love that he knits. Like, it's a very attractive quality in a man.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I don't buy that he knit a sweater overnight. And he's just undoing whoever rolled that ball of wool into a ball. He's undoing all their hard work. Rude.
Fair. My high point, like you said, the fish out of water thing, Sylvester Stallone's beret, fantastic. All the little comedic moments where Sylvester Stallone actually looks like a charming three-dimensional human being, very much enjoyed. So I'm just going to make a general statement. The comedy of this movie was good. My low point is something that, I guess it's been a long time since I watched this movie, but it really jumped out to me and made me basically go, oh no, is when Simon Phoenix is in the museum and he sees a group of what I appear to be Asian school children.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes a really stereotypical noise about what Asian people sound like when they're speaking a different language.
Oh. I didn't even
and I was like,
catch that.
Woo, this is so bad. And it just shows you how far we've come, because I'm like, I can't believe they put this in what I, in my head, call so recent a movie. Even though it isn't recent, it's still too recent for that.
Yeah, that jumped out at me too.
Yeah, so that totally was like, stop everything. It took me out, and I was like, this is such a bad move. I mean, at one point I was like, they were trying to show, I guess, how despicable Simon Phoenix is, but I'm like, that's been established. We don't need more. So I'm calling that my low point because I really didn't like it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What do we got now? Trivia?
You tell us, Austin.
We do it in a different order every week, so I've started to assume that that's just our shtick. We can't keep track of what we do.
Okay.
So the budget was $57 million, and then the domestic box office was $58 million. Worldwide box office was $159 million.
Nice.
Okay.
And then, in terms of trivia, I really don't have much. All the trivia that I could find was like very specifics of like the weapons that were used and the cars that were used, which I don't find interesting. Sorry if you do. But do you guys want to take a shot at the body count?
Ooh.
Yes, numbers.
Are we counting the 30 hostages in the beginning?
I think it would count it.
Okay.
I'm going to say 65.
I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to say 42.
Interesting. It was 72.
Oh.
Oof. Yeah.
So it must count the hostages, because there's not that many. Well, I guess there's still like 50, but still.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of collateral damage, like henchmen getting killed and stuff.
Yeah, and Simon Phoenix shoots all the cryoscientists.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so yeah. And a lot of guards die. Yeah, okay. 72 is believable, but also quite bad.
Yeah.
So can I tell you guys a nonsense trivia that I tried to look up that turned out to not be a thing?
Please.
Yeah.
So in the movie, Sandra Bullock says the last murder occurred on September 25th, 2010. And I was like, wouldn't that be a weird predictor if there was like a famous murder or something that happened that day? So I started to look, and I went through a directory of all the murders in Los Angeles in 2010, and there was no one killed on September 25th.
No.
Oh,
well,
come on.
I mean, good, I guess.
No, it's like the one day of the year that no one died in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there were 698 deaths that year. That's a lot, but just none of them fell on the 25th.
That's so funny.
Maybe all the criminals were like, let's not, buy into this.
We've all seen this movie.
Right? Everyone has. Can I tell you a piece of trivia that I only know from random, I don't even know how I know it, but
yes,
someone told me that they're going to be doing a Demolition Man sequel.
Nice.
Like I think it was announced like this year. Yeah. I think it was a tweet, like a Sylvester Stallone tweet, I think, that he's doing it. So, I mean, who knows what's actually going to happen now that the economy collapsed, but maybe?
So is it going to be like, say 2032 and now however many years have passed since 93, it's going to be that many more years into that future?
You know, I'm going to get Sylvester Stallone on the phone. Just one sec.
Yeah, can you text him for me?
I did read that there was one in the works, like a couple years after it came out, but it fell through. And it was going to be like him and Sandra Bullock's character had gotten married, and it was going to pick up from that. But yeah, I don't know what happened to that. Also, what is their age difference? Because now I'm just thinking, like, was that creepy? Also, would his daughter be her age?
No, his daughter would be like 40 because he's been in cryo for 36 years.
Oh, yes. Okay. Good.
Because I also had that thought where I was like, what if Sandra Bullock is his daughter? But then I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, no, good. I was too lazy to do that math, so sounds good.
But I don't know the age difference between the actors. Like, I don't know how old Sylvester Stallone was at that time. He looks older than her.
Well, he's definitely older than her, but...
Yeah, I'm guessing him at like 40 and her at like 26.
All right, Jackie, you're the math person in this relationship.
Boy.
He was born in 1946.
Okay.
That's it. That's all we got.
She was born in 1964.
Okay, so 18 years difference?
Yes, okay.
And so if this was made in 93, he was almost 50. Wow, he looks good for almost 50. So yeah, he's like 47 in this movie. Crazy.
All right, well, I'm glad we solved that mystery.
And she's actually, she is 29.
Oh.
That's her real age. Good for her.
Jen, what other movies came out this year?
Yeah, so 93 was actually a good year.
One of your favorite movies. I feel it coming on.
Yes, the only movie that matters was released in 1993. It is called
Demolition
Jurassic Park.
Man. Oh.
Jurassic Park, and then everything else is garbage. No, I'm kidding. But there's also Groundhog Day, Hocus Pocus, Schindler's List, Nightmare Before Christmas, Robin Hood Men in Tights, a classic.
Oh, so good.
And then the highest grossing movies of the year were Jurassic Park, Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Fugitive. And then the Oscar winner that year was Schindler's List. So 93 was also a big year for Steven Spielberg. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Side note, have you guys seen The Fugitive?
No.
Not in a long time.
Adding it to the list.
Well, I was just going to say, we will be revisiting some of those movies in the upcoming episodes. So it'll be great.
Nice.
So should we rate some stuff?
Yes. I feel like I'm going to go first because we know it. Enjoyment. Boom. 10 out of 10. Loved every second of it except for that 1 second I mentioned earlier, but every other second, spot on perfection. Quality, 10 out of 10. I love the sets. I love the futuristic vibe. I think they did an amazing job with the cars and all the stupid buildings that they shot in front of. And I love a slow-mo explosion. And there's at least 3 times that he runs and jumps with a slow-mo explosion behind him. So guess what? That's my jam. 10s across the board.
Austin, you go next because I need to figure out where I'm going to come down between you guys.
Okay, for enjoyment, this is tough. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but it took a while to get there, and then there were several scenes that took me out of it, and I just checked out. So I'm gonna say a 5, maybe a 6. No, I'm gonna say a 5. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say a 5. In terms of enjoyment. Quality, it was pretty good. I think it's aged decently well. I mean, as well as any movie that's based around crazy futuristic technology can age. So I'll say like maybe a 7. There were some pretty funky VFX in there, some pretty funky fire effects, some pretty funky green screen moments. But other than that, it was fine. So 7.
Nice.
Okay. So for my enjoyment, I'll say probably an 7 or an 8. I have a lot of fond memories of this. I really enjoyed a lot of the comedy aspects. The fact that I was viewing it a little differently this time around kind of made me feel iffy about some stuff, so that knocks it down a little. But like in general, like I still have a lot of affection for this movie. I'm very upset about the Pizza Hut Taco Bell switch up. I'm never going to get over that. And then quality-wise, it's tough because I do think it's a pretty well-made movie for what it was at the time. Like big budget kind of action sci-fi-ish thing from like 93. Like, I think it looks good for that. And there's a lot of good actors and also Sylvester Stallone. And like, no one's doing a bad job. So I guess quality-wise, I'd also give it like an 8. This is an 8 out of 10 movie for me across the board.
Nice.
All right.
I accept that.
Do we need to check in on the friendometer, or how you feeling, Jackie?
Oh, guys, I'm everyone's friend right now. I am a friend to all mankind because Demolition Man is the best, and I could talk about it forever. So I only have good feelings. You guys didn't. I'm so thankful you didn't find the thing that will destroy the movie for me forever. So I'm happy. I love you guys. 10s out of 10s on the friendometer.
Excellent. Same here.
Nice. Yes, same.
Jen's like, nice. I hate you.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to give you guys both a 2 this week.
This was really fun for me. I'm sorry that there's not a lot of depth or discussion to be had about the movies I choose, but I really enjoy them.
I feel like we find it, or Jen does.
Yeah, I accidentally find it.
Jen finds the layers. I complain.
No, Austin finds the like trivia that always blows my mind. I thought I was on top of something by recognizing Jack Black. I'm like, guess what? I have something to talk about. But you're like, Jack Black! I knew it! I fucking knew it! I was like, damn it.
I'm so sorry. We could re-record that part if you want.
I never noticed Jack Black, so you guys blew both my mind with that, so I'll have to go back and look for him. Good job, both of you.
He's got nice spiky hair. You'll recognize him.
Oh, baby.
All right.
It's just occurred to me that I need to tell you what we're watching next week.
Yeah, what are we watching next week, Austin?
It's a good question.
This is the part where it all falls apart.
You know what? We've put it off.
Oh, no.
Enough. So next week, we are going to be watching a classic, one of the classics, a movie that shockingly neither of these people have seen. And that is shocking to me. It is offensive to my sensibilities. But we're watching The Wizard of Oz. It's amazing.
Okay.
That's
the reaction you get.
I do like you said, these people. I was expecting you to call us a name. You're like, surprisingly, none of these people have seen.
I can't believe neither of you have seen it. Honestly, that is mind-boggling to me. Just because of the frequency that it's on television.
Yeah, I'm happy that I've gone out of my way to never see it. But I'm open. Let's do it.
We were just both busy watching Demolition Man on TV, so.
Yeah, over and over.
Priorities.
So that wraps us up for talking about Demolition Man. Next week, we're going to be talking about The Wizard of Oz. And in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod or on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste. And please tell your friends about us and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much. Bye. Be well.